Good evening, everyone. In Malawi, we say Mazulu anu ali bwanji. I am Sarah Malanga from Malawi, and I work with Shaskin Africa as the Southern African coordinator. And I'm so happy to have you here. I can see our TUT friends. Welcome, welcome. And I would like to ask you to please introduce yourselves in the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from and why you're so much interested in this talk. So it's 7 o'clock sharp. Good evening to those who have just joined us, and welcome to our Applied Leadership in Conservation series. And this is our 4th session in this series. This is an extension to our leadership series that we had. And Maret is going to share the link to the list of the videos in the chat. Please feel free to watch our videos and you won't regret. Before we dive into what is going to happen today, let us look at what is coming next on our Share Skin Africa events. I will just share my screen now. All right, so tomorrow and Thursday, we are going to have a workshop, which will be on rangeland management. On Wednesday, which is the 30th August, we are going to have a panel of 3 amazing speakers who are going to talk about game capture and all what is required. And then on the 14th of August, we also have a panel of 3 amazing people who are going to talk about vegetation assessment for rangeland management. And these all two talks will be from 12 p.m. South African time to 2 p.m. South African time. Please join us, register and join us. Mariette is going to share the link in the chats. So for tonight, today is really a special day. We are going to focus on a key skill for all of us, digital fluency and leading in a tech-driven world. In a world that is always changing, how do we keep ourselves updated with technology? This is the question that our speakers are going to answer today. Knowing how to use technology isn't just a nice thing to have. It's an essential thing for any leader. And in this room, we have several young leaders. So it's very important for us to learn this. As I said that today is a very special day and event, I will tell you the reasons now. The first reason is because 2 days ago, it was Women's Day in Southern Africa. And the second one is because it is World's Elephant Day today. The third one is because it's World International Youth Day as well. So for these 3 reasons, we have a panel of 2 speakers who are all females to celebrate the Women's Day. And one thing that you have to know, elephants represent our ability to appreciate, preserve and nurture the beauty and wonders of the natural world. International Youth Day represents the future of humanity. Both are getting a raw deal at the moment with plenty of room for improvement. And I'm so excited because we have a young person, a young speaker who's going to start today representing all the youth. And she is so passionate about technology. So with these few words, I would like you to help me welcome our first speaker, Naomi. Naomi is my colleague. She belongs to the LCA communication team. If you want to see Naomi's work, I would invite you to look at our social medias and you will appreciate how an amazing work that Naomi is doing. And mostly, she does all the Francophone team social media things. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome this young lady on the screen.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sela, for such a great introduction. I'm happy that we are celebrating all those 3 days at once in this evening. Good evening, everyone. Allow me to share my screen. Good evening, everyone. My name is Naomi Nautarama. I work as a digital content creator and a project lead at Share Screen Africa. And it's an honor tonight to speak to you alongside with Dr. Leona. And tonight we're going to talk about digital fluency and leading conservation in a tech-driven world. I want us to explore how, as a conservationist, we can take technical advancement and put them into practice to become the leaders in the tech-driven world today. So starting off, when you think about a conservationist, you might picture someone in the field with binoculars, as shown on the picture. And but I want to tell you something. There are modern conservationists today, which are digital leaders. We are no longer just defined by the work we do in the field. We are also defined by how we translate that work into a message that resonates and inspires. So for the next few minutes, I would like to share how we do it, or how we could do it for those who are aspiring to join. But first of all, I would like to define a little bit a digital leader. A digital leader is someone who leverages technology and digital tools to achieve their goals and influence others. So in conservation, this means using code to track poaching, being a conservation influencer, data used for analysis, powerful stories on social media to rally a community. So my role in my daily work at Share Screen Africa is to help bring these powerful conservation conversations to life through reels, YouTube videos, posts, and newsletters. Digital competence. Digital competence is the foundation. Dr. Leona will speak about digital literacy in depth. And on this slide, it shows how it translates into a practical skill set. So digital competence is the confident, critical, and responsible use of digital technologies. It's just more than knowing how to use a smartphone, since it includes these three key pillars: information and data literacy, communication and collaboration, which I won't explain since Dr. Leona will get very into depth. But I want to emphasize on this one, the third one, digital content creation. Since that's where my daily work comes to life. It's the skill that of compiling or creating compiling digital media, which we're going to dive into in the next slide. So digital content creation. This is where digital competence translates into tangible impact. So my job is to be the storyteller for conservation. I use visual storytelling to make science accessible and easily understood through using high quality photos, videos, even infographics. Think about this. A scientific report with 1,000 words, which is crucial for a specialist, but a powerful photo that you're seeing at the right of a zebra's, giraffes, can speak a lot and leaves a memorable story to a bigger audience. So here it shows that visual storytelling is really powerful in the content creation side. So we're not just creating content, we're also giving the voice to the biodiversity and the people and the communities. The second thing, it's also about audience engagement, since it's a two-way street. Here, an example that I would give that we might all relate to: likes, comments, and resharing posts. That's also an example of audience engagement. We don't just broadcast messages, we build communities through blogs, social media captions, and newsletters to start a conversation and foster a sense of shared responsibilities. Finally, we have platform specificity, which is so important, and I'm going to show it in the next slide. This is about being deliberate with every piece of content we create. A quick punch of a video for TikTok is perfect for reaching a younger audience, Gen Z, while a blog newsletter might be better for established email subscribers. Reels for key takeaways of talks / reels. Posters with links used on LinkedIn. So it's very important knowing where and how to tell your stories. It's as important as telling the story itself. Now, let's talk about the famous artificial intelligence. Since I can't talk about tech world without mentioning AI, I want to build on that and share how I use it in my daily work. I believe we must approach this with both excitement and caution. In my daily work, I see AI as a powerful copilot, not a replacement for my creativity. So AI offers possibilities, not answers. This means it's a fantastic starting point that helps me overcome the creative blocks. Professor Crawford will discuss how to construct a prompt to write content. That's exactly how I use AI, as a tool to get started. But it's my job to fact check, to add the nuance, and also to ensure the final message is authentic and accurate. The human element of empathy is irreplaceable. And the second point here is to never input sensitive organizational information, mostly into the public AI tools. This is my non-negotiable rule. Since our work often deals with fragile ecosystems, and protect their privacy is a fundamental ethical responsibility. So, where do you go from here? The good news is that the journey to digital fluency is a continuous one. We keep learning every day. But the good thing is that there are more resources available today than ever before. For example, to upskill, there are some programs like the one at ALX Africa for AI career essentials that one could take for 6 weeks and pay $5 per month. And on Udemy, there are some courses about generative AI that are free as well. So lastly, I would say that the future of conservation depends on our ability to tell our stories and the stories in conservation effectively. We must also embrace the digital world and shape it for the good of Africa. Be the voice for conservation that the digital world needs. Thank you all for the attention. I'm now happy to take any questions. Back to you, Stella.
Thank you so much, Naomi. I really enjoyed your presentation. And I have one question for you. Naomi, you're so good at what you do. And sometimes I wonder, I've been wanting to ask you this question for so long. Like, how did you realize that this is your passion, that you want to be a content creator? And when was it? And does your background have anything to do with it?
Well, Sela, I did conservation agriculture at university, but I was really fascinated with anything related with communications, content creation online. And I saw that through when I was doing food processing, since I was very interested with branding, taking photos, videos. And so people started telling me that my colleagues at the university, hey, you're good at this, you're good at that. And I could see that it was easy to do it. Whenever I could spend a lot of time researching and teaching myself things, video editing, designing. So yeah, it was through my colleagues, but also came to realize later that, yeah, I love it. I love this. And it comes so easy to me.
That's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Naomi.
Thank you, Sela.
Yeah, I have lots of questions, but then I won't move to the next unless I should give the audience a chance to ask. If you have any questions for Naomi, please feel free to raise your virtual hand. Then I will let you know that you can unmute and ask your question. As we wait for people to raise their hand, I'm going to ask my second question. Yeah. What are some of the challenges that you meet when working with this technology things?
So the daily challenges, I would say, is the change with the algorithm. If I go into content creation, some platforms keep changing the algorithm and how the platforms work. So you have to keep to be in front, like really wanting to learn every day and updating yourself about what's new, what's working and what's not working. That's a challenge, but also it keeps you as an everyday learner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that can be interesting because every day you have a new challenge and
You
yeah.
have a new challenge, yeah.
Yeah.
New tools to use. Now AI is integrated in most of the apps,
Yeah.
so you have to keep up with that.
Yeah. All right. I can see we have a question from Jimmy. Jimmy, do you want to unmute and ask your question or should I go ahead and read it for you? So Jimmy says, hello, Naomi. Thank you so much for the presentation. A quick one. Which challenges have you faced? It's the same one that I asked, but then he has just specialized it saying, when utilizing AI in line with conservation, what are some of the challenges?
Oh, I would say that's in my point. I say not to rely on AI, mostly in conservation. I feel like the information are not so accurate. It's better you go on Google, you look for article that were written by real researchers, since the data are not really relevant 100%. So it's better you look for authentic and articles that are credible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. There is another question that I really like, and I think it will answer lots of people who are here. Tandeka has asked, Naomi, what can you tell someone who really want to be a content creator but feeling shy to act upon? You know, it's a big problem. Most of us feel shy and we are not confident enough to go ahead and post our stuff. So what can you tell people who are not confident enough, they are shy?
So I think I want first to assure you I was there. I was there too. Very shy even for the cameras. But the first thing you need to remove into your mind is not about you. It's about the message you want to give. Just think about the message you want to give out there and the impact it's going to get to make to the people that will be seeing it. And yeah, you will see. First try, first attempt, and once people will start hearing your stories and the message you're giving, they will encourage you. Trust me. first look at the message you want to give out there. Thank you. I hope that helps.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Yeah.
And the fact that you said you came there yourself and they see now you're here and you do all the stuff like every day. And I know that should encourage someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, thank you so much, Naomi. Thank you for all that you have shown us in your presentation. It was really amazing to see that. Very fascinating. I love your job. I also want to be like you.
I'm humbled, Stella. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. We'll come back to you. All right. So now let's move to our second speaker. Our second speaker is Professor Riona Kafet. Professor Riona is someone who is not just an expert in digital transformation and leadership, but also someone who coaches people on how to make money using business. And for over 20 years, she has helped people to keep themselves updated in this changing world when it comes to technology. So let us please welcome Professor Riona on the screen. Professor, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Stella, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me tonight. I always love to start by saying I'm not a technology specialist, and if I can do it, everyone and anyone can do it. So what I would like, I want to give you a quick overview, and often I find when one understands where you're coming from, it understands what you are dealing with. So, shall I just dive into my presentation? Okay. So just for the viewers, I'm looking sometimes to this side, and it's not because I don't want to look at the screen or you, but my second slide is on my right-hand side, and I also need to look at my script notes to engage with you. So the first one, so when talking about the history, it's really good to know and to just have that understanding that technology has always been with us. It's not a new thing. And what I want you to look at is the eras. So you see here now the society, the hunter society. They use technology, but they use different kinds of technologies. But very much use technology. If we go then the next society is Society 2.0, if you follow the Japanese way of describing it, the agricultural society, I don't know if you can see it, I don't see at the bottom of the screen there, that took about, and I think we've got a different version. Let me just add here that the hunting society took about 240,000 years from the beginning to the end, the time period. When we look at the agricultural society, just think of the kinds of technologies they used then, plows and all kinds of different things. That was about 10,000 years from the period of 8,000 before time to 1,600 after common time. Then, in terms of the Society 3.0, that's where we're actually starting to get involved. It is the society, the industrial society, that was typically with the introduction of information and communication technologies. So the timelines, the industrial society was around about 4,000 years, and I'm actually not telling you the truth, but the industrial revolution started around about 1980s. So let me first say the first industrial revolution, there was the mechanization, steam power, the mass production, the second revolution, assembly lines, electrical power, and then the Society 3.0, the industrial society, around about 1980, with the introduction of information and communication technologies. That's when ICT, that's our short reference to that, came into being. And here the technologies typically refer to electronic tools, devices, laptops, and resources that can generate, store, or process data. In the next phase, and this is more where we are at the moment, we refer more to the fourth industrial revolution, although that's one way of referring it to. It's also continuing, but that really talk about the interface or the cyber physical society that was introduced around about 2020. And this refers to the current digital era and what we're living in. Now, here we're talking about transformative technologies, and that's what we experience on a daily basis, which is around artificial intelligence, the use of robotics, biotechnology, and the Internet of Things. With biophysical simply means that there is or cyber physical, that we've got devices. Think of your watch, a smartphone, or your mobile device, and it interfaces with a digital context. So it's that interface, the cyber physical interface. And we talk about these technologies as transformative because they really have a significant impact on society, on institutions, and in individuals. And it's really changing the way in which we are doing. The important thing, though, I wanted to share with you, and it's a pity that that my timelines dropped off, but what you should have seen in the slides, that just from, let's say, Society 3.0, it took about 400 years from the beginning to the end of that period. When Society 4.0 to where we are today took about 40 years. So what we're seeing, and that's why technology is so prominent today, it is really accelerating. And we feel it, it's around us, it is permeating every aspect of our life. Things of we're all using our mobile phones, and with your mobile phone, you are connected to almost every part of the world. It's immediate, and it impacts your whole life. So this is where we are. But the point to remember is that technology has always been with us. It's not strange to us. It's people develop technology to address problems. But with every time or every phase where a significant technology is introduced, it forces us to adjust. It forces us to learn new skills. It forces us to think differently about our own careers, how organizations are managed, how we structure society. And that's what we are now in that accelerated phase. And with the introduction of Gen AI, that was in 2022 or 23, that really put a spinball into the economy. It's affecting every one of us. So that is just a broad background on where we are now. Something I want to talk, we are on the African continent, and it's important to realize and to know that countries, societies, institutions are all responding to this impact of transformative technologies. They're developing strategies to help the institutions, people adjust. In the same way, there's the African continent, the AU, has developed a digital transformation strategy for Africa, and I've included the reference. I think you will find it very interesting to read that material. Oh, I see I did not move on. Oh, there was my timelines. Sorry. So there you can see the timelines. I got so carried away with my talking that I forgot to get the new link. So now there's not moving. Okay. So there's the digital transformation, the strategy, the Africa AU strategy for digital transformation. What I would like you to look at, so they've got 3 layers. So they talk about the cross-cutting themes that they need to look at, the content and application. Naomi, you spoke about that you are a content creator. One of our challenges here in Africa is that we don't have sufficient content in all the national languages. Content is mostly English. Emerging technologies, these are the areas: cybersecurity, privacy, personal data protection, research and develop. So these are the core cross-cutting themes identified by the digital transformation strategy for Africa. But here at the bottom, can you see they've identified as the foundational pillars an enabling policy and regulatory environment. So that is normally we talk about guardrails. That is what countries and institutions develop to ensure that the citizens or the employees are safe within this online environment, the data is protected, and they ensure the safety of citizens. There has to be the necessary digital infrastructure, but the important thing, do you see, digital skills and human capacity development. That's a core foundational skill to contribute towards the effective and productive use of the technologies in society, in institutions, and as an individual. So I will talk a little bit more about the skills a bit later. But I've mentioned that these technologies is changing nobody's unaffected, no sector is unaffected, no individual is unaffected. And Naomi has already given us quite a good idea of what is happening in the conservation space. That is also not unaffected. I like this quote or this comment of Peter Knights, the CEO of World Africa Fund, that speaks about the importance of how conservation can utilize technology to its own advantage. So the increasing fast-changing world, wildlife conservation must evolve to keep pace because everything around us is changing. And while boots on the ground efforts remain critical and will continue to be the cornerstone of protective measures, technology must be used to its full potential to make these efforts successful. So as if the conservation sector wants to keep up with the developments globally, it has no choice but actually to adopt technology, not only adopt it, but to use it effectively and productively to advance its purpose and its own case. There's also interesting perspective of Wildlife Fund that speaks about, sorry, I'm struggling here. Let me just go back. That speaks about the challenges that is being experienced in conservation, and specifically Africa that has lost 66% of its wildlife in the last 50 years. And then there's a reference to about how technology has advanced over the time. And then this quote, we believe that we can turn the tide combining technical ingenuity with a revitalization of the connection Africans and all other people have with wildlife. And across the continent, governments and conservation organizations are leading the way, taking bold steps to advance protective efforts and using new technologies to increase awareness. And I think we can all name ample examples of how this is happening. But if we now think back of the Africa strategy, we can clearly see the momentum from the African continent on driving towards using technology for the prosperity and sustainable development of Africa. I've included a few slides here just on the use of technology in conservation. We don't have to spend a lot of time just to flip some of the ideas of really high tech that's being applied within the conservation era. This is an interesting example from Nigeria, and I think several of you would have recognized it. So this is the next one, anti-poaching initiatives that are being used in Zimbabwe. What I really like about that is a combination of technologies, of drone technology linked to GPS on dogs that are actually running wild, then using bicycles to track. It's really a very innovative use of technologies. And what's interesting here is that when we refer to technology, it's not always just this high-tech technology, but it's appropriate technology, which can also be a person on a motorbike or scooter or dogs. So it's a combination and the innovative combination of technologies. So I thought just high level, Naomi told us what she's doing in terms of telling digital stories and portraying what is happening in conservation. But these are some of the uses of technology in the conservation era. Remote sensing and geographic information systems, I've already shared that. Drones and aerial surveillance, camera traps and artificial intelligence. And then when you use AI, obviously that talks about gathering data, which makes data analytics also one of a core, I would say, skills that that's necessary or can be very usefully applied within the conservation area. So if you thought that from data analytics point, you can only do it in big companies, well, the conservation area sector provides ample opportunities of using your data analytics skills. Mobile applications and citizen science, there's a wonderful example of communities that using their cell phones to report all kinds of interesting things like, what they see in the environment, new plants, animals. So a wonderful opportunity to get communities involved in conservation. And we know Africa is mobile first. That's what we have. We've got mobile technology, an Internet of Things and sensor networks. So you can this is something that you can easily read about in the internet. So now this is where I want to get to. And Naomi, actually, I keep referring, she really gave a wonderful introduction and a concrete evidence of what's happening. I think it's important to mention that when we talk about digital fluidity, there are certain competencies that are internationally recognized as digital literacy. Now, we must remember something, and that is that globally, and in Africa, many countries haven't yet integrated digital skills development within the educational sector. And all of us are kind of running in from behind. We are in a particular profession, we are in school, and we all need to invest time to update our digital skills. But when we talk about digital skills, it includes handling of information, data, and digital content. And Naomi gave a wonderful description of that. And you can see data, it refers to your data as an individual, how to deal with your personal data and to ensure that you are safe, but also the data that develops into data analytics. How to communicate and collaborate online, not only via email messages and WhatsApp messages, but also to co-create documents that you put online and allow lots of people to collaborate together. Digital content creation, where to find the material, how to verify it, and how to create it. Very important aspect is how to have or develop the skill to ensure that you and an organization at all times safe online and secure. Participating in the online, the internet, and using, going to all the websites and platforms, you are always open for potential scams. I mean, we know how multiple examples of identity theft, of people that lost money. So it is important to develop the skill that you can ensure your own safety and security. And when looking at Africa is really prone to cyber attacks, and there's interesting research that points to the fact that these cyber criminals, they're actually targeting individuals because it's individual behavior that give them that opening. Just that moment where you're not fully aware, that you're not thinking what you're doing, and you clicking on something that you haven't first verified whether it is an appropriate site. Problem solving, transacting online, and you see in the blue one is that recently we've added using of AI and Gen AI as an enabler. So as technology develops, we will continuously need to expand our skills. And I think it's important to talk now about what are the skills required for AI and Gen AI. And I really like the way that Naomi presented it in terms of the critical use of that. It's not only using the tools, but it's about understanding what the tools are, what is the underlying aspects thereof, how to critically reflect and to use it in an ethical, responsible manner. So understand the basics of and engaging with AI, developing the mindset, constructs that's relevant, prompting for and evaluating. So there you can read. You will have the slideshow, but this is what we regard as your basic digital literacy components for digital fluency today. Just a little bit of, I think this is important to talk about AI. I think something conceptually we need to understand. We talk about large language models. It means computers are trained by lots of data internationally, but there are different companies that develop models. So we can identify the GPT-4, Ernie, Gemini, Claude, Olympus. All of these are products from different companies that they offer. And what is important when you start engaging on this platform, it's good to try different platforms, to compare them with one another and decide which of these platforms are more appropriate to what functions. Not one is the perfect one, but when developing that critical ability to reflect on large language models is to understand what each of the or relevant platforms what they offer you and what they are good at. Let me show you this one. Is also to know in the same way that we've got various apps on your mobile phone, our phones, there are various applications that's developed for LLMs, large language models, and these applications can be used for different things. You can use it for create text, so you can see all the kinds of applications that have been developed for text. For creating videos, you can use some of these applications. For speech, for 3D modeling, for code. So there are different applications for different functions. Now, if you're a content creator, you will probably use research to give you access to scientific articles that you can use in your study. But if you are a creative visual designer, you will probably use those applications in that's relevant for designing. So what by example, I want to illustrate the point. Do not just use technology without understanding what are these models for, where are they coming from, what can you do, what are the underlying assumptions, and use it in a critical manner. So now I'm going to, and you must, I think it's important, I try to be quick here. I just want to use this model. Naomi also already said it. Remember, when engaging on an LMM, any of these platforms, it does not give you the right answer. These models, they've got access to large data. If you ask them a question, we call it a prompt, they will give you an answer that is the most probable at that point in time. It's not the correct answer, but it's a possibility. If 10 people ask the LMM the same question, they will get different answers. And that's where the critical thinking comes in, for you to understand what do you get out of it and what to do with it. You can never use the material you get from a prompt just as is. That is very dangerous, and I would say irresponsible to do so. So remember, it's not a fixed answer. You get a best possible answer. Let me go to the next one. So I think I've already said it. So the implication of using is you don't get identical answers. There are great possibilities. It produces it in human-like language, but it's not a factual certainty. So the accuracy, you can't depend on that. Now, having said this, I've specifically copied the work. Can you see Shalene Lee? I've added the link. This is something, a person you can follow on LinkedIn, really good learning material. There's lots of material also on LinkedIn in their training section that I really can recommend. So when developing fluency in using AI, you need to do the effective prompting. You need to evaluate your output. You need to iterate and refine. Don't go with your first answer. Test the answers you get and use it. Test questions on different models and allocate a clear task. But this is the part, the critical human skills that I really want to highlight. We call it human in the loop. Technology always require the human in the loop, and specifically when you use Gen AI tools, you can never step back from your responsibility as the individual to reflect critically, to think what is the ethical implications of what you're busy with, how to create with this aspect. Let me move on. I'm mindful of the time. So I also thought there are different ways to construct a prompt. We call it prompt engineering. And again, go and have a look at Charlene Lee. That's why I left her name there. So this is I thought this is one of the best examples that one can develop to create a prompt. So first of all, you need to instruct the LMM what is the role that it should assume. By giving that instruction, you're simply telling the machine where to go in the data, all the data that they've learned from, to look for answers. So if you say business copywriter, that's the area where the machine will go and look first for data that might be relevant to address your prompt. You will draft a presentation for local business event. In other words, you need to give it a clear instruction. What do you want it to do? Then you need to provide the context. For who is it? Is this for a lecture? Is this for article? Is this for... So provided a clear context. Then if you've got additional information, I often, when I create a prompt, I upload material that to give an example to the machine and what to look for. Provide the tone and style, and then the output that it should provide you. So you can have a very nice example of how to do this. Let me move on. I've got 2 more slides that I want to end off with. It's really important as individuals that we take care of our own digital well-being. Recently, researchers, and specifically social sciences researchers, realized that, and research is coming to the full findings of the positive and negative impact of technology, and I want to mention specifically social media. So as individual users of technology, we constantly need to guard over our own well-being. On this side, we can see positive well-being. This relates to, do we use technology? We use it for sources of entertainment. It prevents boredom. It's enjoyable. It makes life easier. It provides inspiration. It's an essential part of our life. It brings us in contact. But there's also a dark side. If you spend too much time, it's a waste of productive hours. Does it distract you more than what you like? Are you less present in the moment if you spend time with your friends or family? Do you constantly have your phone, or do you really focus on the conversation? Do you feel stressed because you're constantly online? And does it interfere with your work-home performance? And does it perhaps lead to conflict? So a responsible use of technology is to constantly weigh the positive and the negative implications or the impact of your life, and ensure that you maintain positive well-being in your engagement in the online. My last slide is around digital resilience. This is also very recent information and research findings that we're talking about. We've experienced now with the introduction of Gen AI that it really had a massive impact. And we all had to learn very quickly, and we still are learning how to use that productively, ethically, and responsible. So the mindset we need to develop is that we will have to become fit to develop alongside technology, to develop an attitude or mindset of being positive about these technologies, because you learn alongside, you develop the skill how to use it and benefit from it in your daily life. It will require of us to develop skills on a constant basis, evaluate where we are, and because that contributes, if we are skilled in this space, it contributes towards feelings of self-efficacy and mastery. And that contributes towards our resilience and our positive well-being as individuals. Good recommendation is invest in interpersonal skills and build relationships with other people. It's much easier to learn in a group than trying to do everything on your own. So part of building your resilience is to become part of support network and to learn together with other people. And then finally, I've already said it, to adopt the practice of lifelong learning. We've been talking about it for a long time, but now is really the time of becoming lifelong learners and to invest in ourselves, not only in the digital space, but in all areas of life. I think that's it from my side.
Thank you so much, Prof. Leona. This was really an interesting talk because, you know, most of the young people in this group, like we have young students from TUT that have joined, and we are all out there using the AI and everything, but then we don't know, and you went deep to explain how we can use it positively and the negative thing that can come out of it. And I love the way you've put it, that it's not always that chat GPT or AI would give you a correct answer. It might give the like different questions to several people for one question. So I think this was very useful to the students. Yeah. And for now, I'll open the floor for questions. If you have any questions, please raise your virtual hand. Now there is a question from our director, Johan. All right, I will read it for you. So the question reads, does the easy answers provided by AI not pose a risk to our personal development? When we perform difficult tasks, we become resilient and our intellect is developed. How do we guide against this risk? Wow, that's a good question.
Johan, it's an excellent question, and I will answer it in this way by saying, and this is something I've learned from spending a lot of time with Peter Geldenhuys, that is considered to be one of the international gurus in AI. So we need to realize or keep telling ourselves that this is a machine, and the machine can help us with our productivity. It can help us do tasks quicker, better, and there are some aspects that AI is much better than us in pattern recognition, for example. But the point is, and that's why I always talk about human in the loop. In the end, you must know your subject well to be able to phrase a question in such a format that you get the information that you require. But more importantly, you must evaluate the output. I mean, if you can save time, why not use it? And that's the way we need to think of these models. It can help us to become more productive, to perform work quicker, and to support us. We talk about augmentation, to help us as individuals augment our own behavior, to support us. But the responsible use is to always have that oversight, to check the facts, and then to refine whatever you get in terms of your own concepts. It's in the same way that previously we Googled, and Dr. Google, the answer we got from Dr. Google, that's what we used. And over time, we've all learned, okay, you can't do it that way. So it's exactly the same, but we must actively develop the skill and the knowledge, and I would say the mental alertness to know that you cannot just I would say leave everything to the answers you get from AI.
Thank you so much, Prof. That was a good answer. And I can see there are 2 questions from Tandeka Kosi. Tandeka, would you please unmute and ask a question? Okay, so Tandeka is asking, is it possible for digital transformation strategies to install knowledge automatically in our brains, enabling us to retain information without forgetting? Wow.
Unfortunately not.
Wow. Okay. So our second question is, how much can we rely on AI as it gives us possible answers, but not exactly?
Okay. So again, I want to go back to develop the skill to write proper prompts. And that's where we need to upskill ourselves. And there are wonderful courses on prompting, the art of prompting. There are textbooks, there are playbooks, so there's a lot of material available, and I would really advise everybody to go and have a look at that. So for example, there are simple techniques that one can adopt to help you. So for example, if you write a proper prompt, and you get the answer, then you need to check the sources. So you need to provide the sources, and then you need to click on those sources and verify whether those sources actually exist. Because we use the word of hallucinations. Often there would be you would get the answer, and when you ask for sources, they would write a source, but when you actually try to access this resource, you discover that that source does not exist. So these are the techniques that we should upskill ourselves in to ensure that we know how to check for and to verify information. And we should use the LLM in what it's good at. It's very good at summarizing material. It's very good for pattern recognition. But remember, it is with the information that you uploaded or you directed. And you know what in my situation, what I normally do is I direct the LLM to particular sources. Notebook, I think it's Notebook. I can't remember. I think someone should, maybe can ask Lynette to add in the chat. But it's really good if you upload the sources up front, and then you direct the LLM to use the sources that you have provided. Sorry, Silla, can I just add one question? And Naomi also said it. If you use the non-licensed versions, be really careful not to divert any private information or company information. Remember, those are Notebook LM. Thank you. That's a really useful tool. Can I just divert? That's it. Notebook LM is a really useful tool where you upload the material. It's articles that I've written. It's literature that it's already lit. So I work on digital inclusion. So it's all the recent material that I regard as important for my subject area. I upload it into Notebook. And then I write prompts to help me abstract information and create material from material that I've already captured. But let's go back to the open or the non-licensed versions, the open versions. Please be careful. You can, under no circumstances, upload your organizational information, personal information, and specifically not conservation information, your sensitive information, because that's immediately out there. You also need to look, for example, in LinkedIn on all the platforms that you go. There's sometimes in the security setting, they indicate that your data will be open for learning, for LMMs. Just go and disable that option. So please be careful when you use the free versions of these technologies.
Thank you so much. And there is another question that is related to the one that you were answering from Robert. Robert, would you please unmute and ask your question?
Yes, Stella. Well, part of it has been answered, and thank you very much, Prof. Leona and Naomi, for a great presentation. I was asking myself, because you mentioned in your presentation, Prof. Leona, that in conservation is not always about high-tech gadgets and in materials. There are some of initiatives that are low-tech and can be used by institutions maybe with low budget. But I was asking myself on the part of accuracy and trusting the results these materials give us. At what extent should we believe them? And from your experience, should we really believe in the results we get from these low-tech platforms and gadgets?
So, Robert, I think I've answered you. It really increases with, I would say, the user's ability to develop prompts, to develop your own skill to fact check. And then obviously as part of it, and we haven't touched onto agentic AI, the developing AI agents, but I think where you can become more feeling more safe about the output is if you develop the skill to teach the LLM. Teach means you give the LLM data to learn from. So that part of engaging with your LLM and providing and directing it to the data that you want or the information that all of that forms part of the way to ensure that the output you get can be trustworthy. But you can never remove yourself from the process to critically evaluate the outcome. So we've, for example, now written a report on digital inclusion. And if we say, so you open as a project, and there but I've got a licensed version or paid version. So I upload all the material I want there. So I know that space is secure. So it works, and every time I direct, my prompt goes directly to those sources that I've uploaded. Then I uploaded my own, discussions. So you work in an environment that you can trust, because you've uploaded the material and you've developed or taught the LLM to get the information or to provide the data in the format that you require. But that skill, you can develop that skill. Everyone can develop that skill.
Thank you so much. I can see Marit has her hand up. Marit, will you go for it?
Hi, Leona. Just, I have a quick question with regards to, so I heard you saying that if it's a free AI, so like a ChatGPT or whatever, be careful with the information that you share. So, what if, sorry, I'm bumbling up. So on Zoom, they have an AI companion. So you can activate the AI companion, and it takes basically minutes for you of your meeting. So it'll summarize it and take minutes, etc. Because we have a paid for account, or say for instance you have a paid for account on Zoom or what's the other one, Teams. Does that mean that you have then privacy with that AI companion, or is it still open as everything else? But because you have a paid for account, it then makes it more private to your organization.
Marit, good question. And I think it's something to check on your license. My assumption is yes. It's in the same way when we initially with COVID, we all used the 30-minute versions of Zoom, and then there was that big thing where Zoom meetings were hacked because of the lack of privacy. So that is my assumption.
Okay.
But it will be good I can't guarantee you, but
Yeah.
just check that. Yeah.
Okay,
And what
license.
companies, because these things are quite expensive, is to buy, for example, a license for more people to use. So it's increasingly, that's what happens. So companies buy their licenses and they build their own secure environment where staff can use that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marit, for the question, and thank you so much, Prof. Riona, for the answer. So we have a comment from Duncan Koya. Duncan Koya, are you able to unmute and comment? I see you have a very good comment in the chat. Jambo.
Jambo, how are you?
Fine, and you?
Okay, so I was just commenting on the importance of these technologies in conservation field, and I think I was just to comment that since the integrations of the earth ranger systems that we are using in conservation field, we have been able to see a lot of positive impacts on how technology is improving conservation across the landscape. But also we have got some challenges sometimes, like in a normal issue. So that was just, I was just commenting on the importance of technology in the conservation field.
Okay.
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you so much, Duncan. I was just curious on like what are some of the challenges that you're facing. It would be nice to hear and see how they are connected to the changes that are happening.
Yeah, like for the issue of the earth ranger, I don't know whether you know. Okay, we are now integrating these systems in a way that to ensure that monitoring is so efficient when it comes to data storing, data collection. And now one of the bigger challenges untrained personnel in collecting this data. And then we have got also issue to do with perception, like negative perception. Like sometimes people think that collecting those data, especially on in case of a human wildlife conflict, is like you are convicting them to crimes. You see, yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Prof. Riona, any comments on that? Do you think maybe it's because people are not taking change into consideration in terms of technology, or maybe it's just that it's just another issue? Does it have anything to do with the change in technology, or is this just people how they are thinking about conservation in general?
Probably a combination, but of both. But I think, and I think, let me put it this way. I always introduce myself as I'm not a technologist, I'm a psychologist. But I had to learn to use technology. And that's the point. Some of us are naturally, we like the technology, we like gadgets. Not everyone is. But what we do need to understand that technology is an integral part of life. We cannot wish it away. And we have to expose ourselves to it. At the same time, technology does not take away all the social ills or problems, as we see that what you experience in society, the typical socioeconomic challenges and these are typically also, it's playing itself out within the digital space. I think the last point I want to say is that we should never forget our humanness. And what we've seen in research is that companies that are really successful are those, or institutions, are those that can leverage the creative and innovative abilities of people. People using technology, but it's around the people. I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah, you did. And as you were answering, you've said something that has clicked me, and I don't know if you've covered it. Maybe I just missed it, but then you've mentioned that you're not a technologist, but you just studied it. What made you to study technology, and how have your journey been studying technology? Did you enjoy it, or was it full of challenges? How did you find it? Because yeah, I know it was a big decision to make.
So I was I always had this fascination, but more around innovation. So I studied many years ago um, the success of big tech companies. You know, what makes them successful. So, but then it actually boils down to people. That's what I realized. But then I joined the private sector in an IT company, and I focused on the intersect between people and technology. And then I realized, actually, it was about almost 20 years ago, I joined in 2002 a tech company. I realized that if I want them, the technology people, to take me seriously as a psychologist, I need to be able to talk to them in their technology terms. I need to be able to understand their conversation and to bring across a psychological or team or whatever aspect in their context of technology. They're not going to come to my side. So that was a steep learning curve, and I don't always enjoy it. I often tell, when I work with technology people, I always tell them, if you can get me to understand a technology aspect, then you can get anybody to understand. So, but it's I always feel like, for me, I need to consciously, you know, switch on that part of the brain and say, you have to learn. So for me, what I discovered over time, so I do read about it, but I found what worked for me is if I engage with technology experts. So I'm in a fortunate position where I'm, you know, I've got several, I call them geeks around me, and I take time to sit with them. Sometimes the conversation just go whoops, just right over my head. But over time one learns I don't have to be a technology specialist, but I need to understand conceptually, and then I need to discern what of these conversations are relevant for me and what skills do I need in my job. I don't need all the new tech and all the new stuff. I'm in a research environment. We do training, so I focus on those tech skills, if I can call it that, like that, or the digital skills that are relevant for me in my environment and in my context to be able to engage with my stakeholder group. I hope that helps.
Yes, and I feel so motivated. I also want to study technology because I know I'm quite behind, and sometimes I feel like, no, this is not my thing. But with your story, hearing that you just made your decision, I said, okay, I want to understand these people, and then I need to start hearing to speak their language. And you went for it. I feel like that I can also do it. And I know some people here, they're also motivated to go and try it out. So thank you so much. And you just reminded me of someone who said that for you, if you are to work with someone, you need to speak the same language as they do. So yeah, that was very smart. Yeah. All right. So to you, Naomi, you've been quiet for some time. There was a question that we left it, and I want to bring it back. Christopher asked in the chat, do you believe that good pictures can tell a story? It can tell a story itself?
Well, I would say good pictures, not alone, because you need to write a message with the picture. Because as people, we have different ways to see things. So if I see a picture, I may not know what the message. But if you write down a caption, that's why there is a way of writing captions. You convey the message that you want people to get. It's like an addition, yeah, to align to put the audience or those who will see the picture in what you want them to, the message you want them to get. Yeah, I think that's it. But it's a really good factor. Good picture is also important. Good image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let me see if we have some more questions in the chat, or am I missing anyone?
I think there was a question about enterprising in conservation.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
That
Okay.
one.
Okay.
I think it's Anna who asked it.
Okay, let me just check it out so that I can read it, then you answer for the
Yeah.
sake of other people to follow. Okay, so the question was, tell us about someone you know personally who embodies enterprising spirit. Explain why you selected this person. Yeah, you can go for it now.
Yes. I would revert a bit. Instead of talking about a person, I would really talk about a project, a successful conservation project / business in Rwanda, where I'm located, in Kigali, of Nyandungu Eco Park. This is a really example that I see. So its story is one of the restoration and sustainable development. So Nyandungu was an area where it was a degraded wetland, where there was pollution, sand mining, and other human activities. So the park is now a home for bird species, different bird species. And it's not only a conservation area, it has recreation ponds, medicinal garden. But one interesting thing of how the park gets the revenues is through the entrance fee, renting bicycles to bikes around. And another thing is about, there is a restaurant inside, a coffee shop, not a restaurant, inside. So they all gather that money to help those who work inside. So I believe it's a very nice, successful conservation work, but also that gives back to the community.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi, for sharing the story. Yeah, it's really inspiring. All right. So I think we have no more questions, and we are coming to an end. As we wrap up, I would like to ask Prof. Riona if you have some last words to the young people who want to be leaders in conservation. Yeah, if any last words that you have.
Thank you, Sila. I'm really inspired by the number of participants that are part of the discourse. We need young people like you guys to take us forward. There are wonderful opportunities on the African continent, and it's for me really inspiring to see you. And we need the young people to take the baton, and you're already doing that. And don't underestimate what you can achieve as young leaders.
Thank you so much for that. So you have heard, don't underestimate what you can achieve as young leaders. Yeah, thank you so much, Prof. Iona, for that. And Naomi, any last words?
For me, it would be the voice for conservation into this digital world. And don't be shy. Don't accept being shy, and
Yeah.
just speak out for communities. Yeah, there's a lot, and there is an impact you can make if we all do it together.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much for the lovely words. So on behalf of ShareScan Africa, I would like to thank you so much, Prof. Riona, for making time to join the talk. And also, Naomi, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. And to everyone who joined us today, our TUT student, thank you so much for joining. And please join us again for our next session. And we're looking forward to interacting with you again. Thank you so much and good night. Usiku wa bwino.